I'll give you $1 million, but you must stay in the last game you play for a year. Are you willing? Liu, disdainful. Willing to be willing, and then what? Can you let me go? Then he crossed over. Arrived at Raccoon City. Liu. Don't underestimate me, I am an all-accomplished player. Watch my life pass. This is a story about a game house that travels through different game worlds to pass levels and slay generals. Keywords of the novel. Game world survival starts from Biochemical 2 without pop-ups. Game world survival starts from Biochemical 2. Download the full text. Game world survival starts from Biochemical 2. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Transport Game World Raccoon City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Transport Game World. Raccoon City. Raccoon City Police Station, East District Interrogation Room on the first floor. Li Yodwan sat upright on the chair, afraid to move. Even swallowing saliva should be carefully divided into 3 parts. He slowly turned his head and looked at the paper calendar hanging on the wall. On September 29, 1998, 2 days before the pacification of Raccoon City, the exact time is unknown. Don't misunderstand, he wasn't caught for committing a crime, let alone a local. He just parachuted here, an ordinary traveler. The reason for his time travel was that he read a post titled, "Enter your last game and stay for a year, give you 1 million. At that time, Li Yu was still typing and mocking the landlord. Even when Deng Shiyu read his post, he remembered his childhood. Then a white light flashed before his eyes, and he woke up here. Li Yu was originally quite excited. It's finally my turn to travel through this kind of good thing. And according to convention, when reading a post, one should follow the content of the post. And the last game he played was one of the sequels to the famous Women's Mountain Range series, Women's Millennium Kingdom. Ding! The system has started. The delayed system prompt sound made Li Yu happy from the bottom of his heart. Isn't the welfare for the travelers here? Congratulations, you have successfully entered the gaming world, currently located in Raccoon City. Li Yu. Are you waiting for a moment? Where do you say I am? Raccoon City. He suddenly remembered that after closing the game last night, he seemed to have accidentally opened the Biochemical double version with a shaking hand. Although I immediately turned it off, when it comes to the last game I played, that's really this. Li Yu was already in Sparta at that time, so angry that he wanted to pound the table and chairs. Is there a mistake? Raccoon City survives for 1 year. Not to mention that this ghost place will be flattened in 2 days, the zombies piled up here alone will be enough for him to die 180 times. After a year, he should become fertilizer in the field. Not to mention the raccoon market and the crawling mutated creatures and bosses. For example, there is one across from this mirror. Li Yu's hand, which was supposed to pound the table, suddenly froze in mid-air. He looked at the huge monocular mirror in front of him, and his memories of Biochemical 2 gradually streamed through his mind. The narrow room, wooden long table, and the huge single-sided mirror in front of him reflected Li Yu's face. In the dim and cold light, his face appeared pale and weak. No mistake, this is the interrogation room of the Raccoon City Police Department. Li Yu suddenly stiffened all over, afraid to move or make any sound. Why do you want to ask? Players familiar with Resident Evil 2 should know that there is a big surprise hidden in this interrogation room on the first floor of the police station. Yes, that's one of the most classic Resident Elite enemies in the Biochemical series, the famous Lick Eater. Also affectionately referred to by players as Lick Lord, or Leica, cross out and are licking, is now hidden on the other side of the single-sided mirror, waiting for the bewildered and ignorant prey to pass by. Done. Wait. There's also the system. Start the main interface. The system really responded. During system self-check, currently in the game world. Resident Evil Dual Edition. Login in progress. Reward extraction will be performed after login is completed. Please wait. Login completed. Please draw your new world rewards. Liu barely calmed down and looked at the system prompt in front of him. Extract. Extracting. Extraction completed. Please choose one item from the extracted items as your reward. Liu fixed his gaze and saw 3 glowing props floating in front of him. He clicked on them and prayed in his heart that they must be useful. This was his last hope. Samurai Blade, Chris Type, Item Introduction. STRS Military Exclusive Gun, 9mm pistol with a capacity of 15 rounds, customized by Chris, initially full magazine. Ah. Wait a moment, don't worry, take a look at the last 2. Samurai Blade, Jill Type, Samurai Blade, Albert Type, Liu. Dot. Is that all? Is this the prop given by the system? Where is the agreed cheat? Where is the golden finger? What about powerful weapons? Can you just give me a small pistol? Ding. A potential threat has been detected near the location. After selecting the reward, an additional pistol bullet of 10 will be issued. Liu. Dot. Please select your reward as soon as possible, otherwise all rewards will be revoked. Albert Type. A pistol appeared in his hand. All rewards have been distributed, final confirmation. Your main task in this world is escape from Raccoon City, non-infected. Good luck. Liu has already greeted the ancestors of this shitty system developer 108 times in his heart. Potential threat, referring to liquors, and then you gave me 10 pistol bullets. Hee hee. Hee hee. Liu initially found it difficult to accept. False, all are false. Then the person immediately became discouraged and said, why don't I just give myself a shot? But to put it this way, Liu didn't make any sound on the surface, let alone the act of lifting a gun and committing suicide. He still wants to live. I just crossed over and immediately killed myself. What is that? Can't he just hit himself with a single shot before the real intruder gets on his body and starts the unparalleled Raccoon City, right? How can that be done? He is wearing his own original clothes, how can he give them to the intruder who appears out of nowhere? Thinking of this, Liu sat up. The liquor has no eyes and extremely sensitive hearing, so stay calm and control all sounds to a soft and gentle level, so they cannot die temporarily. His mind began to rapidly contemplate countermeasures. What should we do? Plan 1, take out the licking. Liu looked at the samurai blade in his hand. Okay, give up. Forget it, with a total of 25 bullets, as a beginner, he wants to kill a liquor in such a narrow area. I advise you to reopen it directly, dear. Option 2, since direct conflict is not feasible, can we run away? Unfortunately, it's not possible either. The very damn thing is that the door to the interrogation room has a special lock and must have a special colored key to open it. This is true for both rooms, so even if Liu is moved to the opposite side, he cannot leave. What a pity. The game settings have ruined me. Obviously, the reason why the interrogation room has such abstract 2 locks is not because of anything else, but because this is the game world where players need to solve puzzles. But at this moment, he trapped Liu here. He seemed to recall the scenes when he first played this game, where he had an explosive mentality when searching for keys. Wait. But suddenly, Liu realized something. Since I can't get out no matter what, it doesn't matter whether I can beat or lick. I just need to keep quiet, won't that solve the problem? The problem was suddenly solved with ease. The matter has come to an end, let's take a break for now. However, at this moment, a faint sound came into Liu's ears. It's the sound of unlocking. Liu immediately turned his head. Are you here? Sanguang. The 3 lights in his mouth are naturally one of the main characters in the Biochemical series, Leon S. Kennedy. Send a nickname to someone, with a separate head and Li Songguang. If you have to say anything, Li Yu is still his fan. Li Yu was a bit excited, not only because he was about to see himself, but also because Sangguang from Biochemical 2 was still very young and inexperienced. He was a newcomer, so it must be easy to deceive him. Li Yu has already figured out the language to gain his trust, such as, "Don't shoot." Li Yu looked at the door eagerly and said, "Come on, dear lion." With a creaking sound, the door was pushed open. A young girl wearing a red jacket and shorts, tied in a ponytail, walked in. He met the gaze of Li Yu, whose eyes were full of passion. Both of them were stunned. Li Yu instinctively called out her name. Claire. Yes, it's not Lion, but another protagonist of Resident Evil 2, Claire Redfield. Why is she? What about Lion? Wait a moment. When it comes to saying this, it seems like I made a mistake. It seems like Claire was supposed to be here. This. Upon hearing Li Yu call out her name, Claire was also surprised and asked, "Do you know me?" Li Yu quickly calmed down. Now is not an awkward time, whether it's Sangguang or Komei, they are both their own saviors. He immediately signaled with his hand to keep Claire quiet and pointed to the huge monocular mirror next to him. Claire was taken aback and immediately reacted, whispering, "Is it that thing?" Li Yu nodded. Claire, as an ordinary female college student, naturally remained calm when faced with a monster like a licker and immediately said, "You come out first." Of course, Li Yu would not object and lightly touched the door, feeling anxious. The licker did not break through the window. Li Yu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It's safe now, just run away quickly. Then he saw Claire remove the single-shot grenade launcher from behind and load it with a red shell of tubular ammunition. Li Yu. Seeing Claire push the door open again, he quickly pulled it down and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing?" Claire looked taken for granted and said, "Get rid of that guy." "Don't worry, I have a plan." Li Yu. What? Do you really have a number? No, who cares if you count or not? Why don't you run when everyone comes out? Claire, however, did not give Li Yu the opportunity to inquire. She raised her hand and picked up a support chair at the door, without saying a word, and threw it forcefully towards the corner of the interrogation room. Bang! Pop! The sound of impact and falling echoed one after another, followed by a crisp click. The single-sided mirror in the interrogation room was shattered, and a humanoid monster covered in blood-red muscles, with an exposed brain and sharp teeth, rushed towards the overturned armchair with lightning speed. The metal backrest bracket was easily cut off in front of the monster's claws. After crashing to the ground, the licker lay on a piece of ground, his long tongue swinging in his mouth, emitting a piercing roar. At the same moment, Claire took action. With a slightly dull firing sound, the flame bomb accurately hit the licker's back and then burst, enveloping the licker and its surrounding ground and walls in flames. The licker let out a sharp roar again, but this time it was a mournful cry. The raging fire enveloped its mutated body, and the burning pain of its flesh and blood made it roll back and forth on the ground, yet it could not extinguish the fire. Claire seized the opportunity, pulled out a small revolver, and without hesitation, fired several shots at the licker. "I'll fuck you." Claire is too reckless, isn't he? Li Yu had no choice but to draw out the blade of the warrior. Although he had never played with a gun, he still tried to aim the muzzle at the lick-eater and shot wildly at the fastest speed he could. Highlighting whether to hit or not depends on fate. Poor licking, the flames on his body were not extinguished, and he was suddenly knocked out by the two of them, mainly Claire. In the end, he could only raise his hair and let out an unwilling roar, completely falling down. Claire approached carefully, kicked it, and finally confirmed that it was dead. Seeing Claire gesturing, Li Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief, his back soaked in cold sweat. Although in the battle against the licker, I only managed to make a few shots in the end, it has to be said that facing the liquor up close, the sense of oppression is still quite terrifying. The large size of the liquor, the exposed flesh and blood, sharp claws, and the foul odor emanating from the mouth covered with sharp teeth all made Li Yu feel heart pounding. Just as he let go of his worries, Li Yu suddenly heard a system prompt sound in his ear. Ding! Congratulations on completing the achievement. Final strike. Last strike. Use a pistol or dagger weapon to kill a licker. The achievement section is partially unlocked. Please claim your rewards in the achievement section. Li Yu's eyes really brightened up now. Oh. End of this chapter. How does the unfolding of Chapter 2 differ from the game plot? You are listening at novelfull.audio. How does the unfolding of Chapter 2 differ from the game plot? Is there an achievement system? Isn't that the problem solved? It's not that Li Yu is proud, he is the person who has achieved full success in the biochemical double production version. Li Yu immediately summoned the system, and a very simple virtual interface appeared in front of him. On the first page, there are only character attributes, status, equipment, and backpacks, space X10. It really has a grid crisis flavor. The only 2 pages that can be opened on the system interface now are status and achievements, while the rest are grayed out. The achievement panel only has one option on, which is the last hit just now, and nothing else is visible. However, you can see the unlocking conditions for some sections. Complete unlocking condition for achievement section. Kill 5 lickers, January 5th, condition for fully unlocking the status section. Unlocking condition not known, information section fully unlocked condition. Unlocking condition not known, lucky draw section fully unlocked condition. Complete the main task of the Biochemical Crisis Dual Edition world. Okay, that's great. Having requirements is not a problem. As a seasoned gamer, what Li Yu is afraid of is which game does not make requirements. There is a saying that goes, as long as you, the game character, dare to reveal your health bar, even the gods will kill you. So even if the task requirements are difficult, Li Yu can only consider it a highly challenging challenge, and there will always be a time when he can pass the level. If there are any challenges, let's all come and see me pass. Li Yu excitedly waved his hand. Of course, the most important thing now is to receive the reward for the first achievement. Li Yu, click on, Last Strike. Achievement Reward. Achievement Points X 500, Simple Firearms Skill Book. Beginner X1, Laser Sight X1, Skill Books. And Laser Sights. Item Introduction. After use, you can learn the basic usage methods of simple firearms. Item Description. Medium-size laser sight, high laser intensity, adjustable laser color, easy to install, unlimited energy. Good thing. Li Yu was overjoyed. These 2 things are of great use to him at this stage. Li Yu clicked on the skill book on the spot. In an instant, he felt a lot of things added to his mind, including the usage methods and experiences of common weapons, which instantly transformed him from a novice who only knew about firearms on television and games to a firearm enthusiast level who had received basic training. Very good. Li Yu looked at the samurai blade in his hand and instinctively raised his hand to pull the sleeve, carefully checking the status of the gun. A set of movements is not only smooth and flowing, but also fluent and proficient. Li Yu reinstalled the sight and raised his gun to make a false aim. His body immediately reflexively adjusted its posture, making the most suitable move. At the same time, a green laser swayed with his gun muzzle, greatly reducing the difficulty of aiming. Li Yu was pleasantly surprised in his heart. He could clearly feel that although the skill book was only beginner level, he had already undergone a transformation compared to before. While Li Yu was thinking about trying out an ordinary zombie, Claire approached him with a look of examination and curiosity in his eyes. Do you know me? Sure enough, it has arrived. Claire's problem was not unexpected, and Li Yu had already figured out the reasons. He made a serious expression and said, to be precise, I've heard of you. You're Claire Redfield, Chris's sister, right? Claire was momentarily stunned, then overjoyed and quickly asked, do you know Chris? Liu secretly chuckled that Claire came to Raccoon City to find his brother Chris, so as long as he threw out Chris's clues, the problem would be easily solved. So Liu made up a mess on the spot, saying that he was an Eastern journalist with a mysterious power, cross it out. He was here to investigate Police Chief Brian Elons. It is said that the director not only accepted bribes, but also seemed to be vaguely related to the current biochemical crisis in Raccoon City. Then, he was accidentally discovered by the director's people and locked up here. As for Chris, Liu said he doesn't know him, but he knows that Chris gave St. A member of the ARS unit sent a letter back, and if Claire is interested, she can take her to see it. Claire was originally shocked to hear Liu talk about the director's situation, but as soon as she heard about Chris, she immediately forgot about everything else and said I wanted to go. Where is the letter? Liu secretly exclaimed that both of the protagonists in Biochemical 2 have a characteristic. They are easy to trust people. Simply put, it's easy to deceive. As long as you grasp the key, it is particularly easy to deceive. So he replied, it's on the second floor, in the arsenal of S.T.A.R.S office. Unlocking the arsenal can be quite troublesome, but I can take you there. Thank you for rescuing me. Seeing Liu so enthusiastic, Claire was also touched and said, thank you. Liu just smiled and said, it's okay, let's go. The two of them immediately left, with Claire in front and Liu behind. The two of them climbed up the stairs to the second floor. At a glance, Liu saw the rolling shutter door rising in the nearby corridor and had a sense of judgment in his heart. It seems that Claire in front of her has already gone to the underground facility, met Sherry, and experienced the plot of Sherry being abducted by the police chief Brian Elons, which is why she has the heart's key in her hand. So he thought for a moment and tentatively asked. By the way, Claire, have you seen a little girl wearing a school uniform at the underground facility? He thought he would get a positive answer and even thought about how to explain it to Claire in the future. Unexpectedly, Claire turned around and gave him a surprised look, saying, underground. Little girl. What are you talking about? Liu was stunned again. Ha! How does it differ from the game storyline? But before Liu could ask further, a hoarse sob came from below the stairs. This kind of shouting only means one thing. The zombie is here. The two turned their heads and drew their guns, aiming them at the bottom of the staircase. I saw two ragged zombies with blood all over them turning out of the hallway. Where did they come from? Claire was surprised. Liu was not surprised, he was too familiar with the game process. Except for remembering the wrong colors of Claire and Lion's keys. It should have broken through the hallway window and crawled in, take it out. Speaking, he fired first. Bang! Bang! Two gunshots rang out in succession, and the zombie swaying ahead was hit in the head on the spot. With a whimper, it fell down and even hit its companion. Claire looked at Liu in surprise and noticed her sight. Even Liu could not help blushing. The reason Claire was so surprised was simple, and that was his previous display of marksmanship. It was really terrible. When he hit the liquor just now, at such a close range, he fired a total of 9 shots, missed 5 shots, and hit the edge with only 3 shots. The whole firearm novice, Claire simply didn't say anything out of politeness. Liu is also aware that he was lucky enough to achieve the achievement of Last Strike. But now it's different. Having learned the firearms skill book and installed a sight on the gun, he now has the ability to accurately target ordinary zombies and will never hit empty lines again. Or rather, it won't be so easy to outline. Excited, Liu took 2 more shots on the spot and sent the other zombie away before putting down his gun. Looking at Claire's surprised expression on the side, Liu also felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart, with a feeling of 30 years east and 30 years west, don't deceive the journalist into poverty. Just as I was about to say something, I suddenly heard a system prompt ringing in my ear. Understand the conditions for fully unlocking the status section. Condition for fully unlocking the status section. Kill 20 ordinary zombies, February 20th, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Tyrant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Tyrant. Very good. With great strength, referring to barely knowing how to play with guns, and new feature unlocking prompts, Liu felt very good and had a lot of confidence. Let's go. Claire suddenly shouted, be careful. Liu turned his head and looked. Sleeping slot. Lick it. You're still coming towards me. I can't hide anymore. Liu gritted his teeth and was about to go all out when Claire behind him shouted again, squat down. Liu instinctively followed suit, and then saw a red grenade fly over his head and collide with the crawling licker. The flames immediately surrounded it. In a mournful roar, the licker fell to the ground, struggling incessantly, while Claire held up a hollow steel pipe from an unknown source and came to it, forcefully piercing its head. Liu was stunned. But as the licker was about to swallow, he suddenly realized. My head. Liu pounced on the licker's side, pulled out the steel pipe, and stabbed again. Blood splattered everywhere, soaking Liu's shoes and pants. But Liu didn't have the heart to pay attention to this, he just looked at the system version with a kill count of 2 out of 5, and breathed a sigh. Then, facing Claire's eerie gaze, his face showed embarrassment. This. I'm afraid it's not dead. Claire finally shook his head and explained, those guys have a very keen hearing. The sound of gunfire can attract people nearby, so unless it's in a closed environment, if you don't need a gun, you don't need one. Liu nodded honestly, but couldn't help but wonder, so how did you deal with these zombies before? Claire. Try to use a knife or an iron rod. Liu. Excuse me, is this the strength of the protagonist? The two immediately arrived at the director's office on the second floor. Here, after repeated confirmation with Kume, Liu discovered that she had not yet entered the underground facility. Of course, I didn't encounter Shirley either. Liu was very surprised. In the original game process, both Sanguang and Kume had to enter underground facilities and return to the police station before they could reach the interrogation room where he landed. I won't go into the logic of the plot, but the main point is that if the development of this world is different from that of the game, it will be difficult for Liu to fully utilize his foresight, so he must understand. Therefore, upon learning that she had not seen Shirley, Liu's first reaction was, how did you get this red heart key? Claire replied, the office door is not closed, I came in directly. The door is still open, but it's okay. Is Elon dementia in old age? Liu couldn't help but ask, what are you doing wandering around in the police station? Am I looking for Chris? Claire looked at Liu with a strange expression, taking it for granted. Is this journalist not very clever? Liu. He never expected that as a time traveler and also a fully accomplished player, he would be looked down upon by one of the game's main characters, Claire. After a moment of silence, Liu gave up his plan to argue with Claire and changed the topic. Let's quickly find Chris's letter. Claire naturally agreed, and after replenishing their ammunition, the two of them pushed the door open and Liu began his performance. He took Claire from the east second floor to the west second floor, and then back to the east second floor. He circled several times at a speed that Claire couldn't understand, then combined a bunch of seemingly inexplicable props, and finally obtained the unlocking key to the arsenal. STRS police emblem. Throughout the process, Claire's reaction was basically like this. What is this lying trough? Gypsum arm. Why take this? Wait, what is that? Hey, what is he doing? Wait a moment, why did this door open? Highlight a complete confusion. Wait for Liu to take out the silver white S from the box T. Claire fell into self-doubt while wearing the ARS badge. She felt that all her role was to help Li Yu beat some zombies while he was searching for the keys. Oh, the heads were all taken by Li Yu. Is it true that what I say to my friends is suitable for speaking with fists, not for using my brain? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Not to mention Claire doubting life over there, Li Yu played with the police badge on his hand and looked at the data in the system panel, feeling a pleasure in his heart. Complete unlocking condition for achievement section. Kill 5 lickers, April 5th, condition for fully unlocking the status section. Kill 20 ordinary zombies, July 20th, with the help of Claire Flame Bomb, he took away the heads of 2 lickers again, and the unlocking progress climbed to, April 5th, and it was soon fully unlocked. Li Yu even wanted to shoot at the window and lure another licker to come and kill it, in order to completely unlock the achievement section. Unfortunately, it cannot be sighted. After all, Claire is the main force. The two finally arrived at St. In the ARS office, Li Yu unlocked the weapon depot using the USB hidden inside the police badge. Claire, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately rushed in without even looking at the weapons hanging on the wall, and hurriedly searched through the nearby documents. Li Yu turned his gaze to the weapon wall, his eyes shining. Don't forget where this is. Weapon depot. Of course, he needs to follow some powerful weapons and leave. He can't always use a small pistol to hit the licker, can he? However, one of the irrationality of the game is also mentioned here. In theory, Lion and Claire entered the police station one after another, and the locations where they obtained weapons were also the same. But in their respective routes, there is only one weapon in the arsenal, and it is not the same. Leaving aside the discussion of who unlocked the arsenal, the differences in this weapon alone are already quite abstract. No wonder there is a meme among players that these props are all from Sheriff Marvin, who lies dead in the lobby in the plot. He secretly came to replenish them while Leon and Claire were away. It's reasonable to think about it, but it's just overgrown. There were originally many contradictions in the game, but in today's gaming world, most of these contradictions no longer exist. For example, on the weapon wall in front of me, there are 2 weapons neatly hanging. The large caliber pistol originally belonging to Lion. The Lightning Eagle, and the submachine gun that Claire should have received, the MQ-11. At this moment, Li Yu stared at the Lightning Eagle, tears streaming out of his mouth. This is a biochemical artifact, Magnum. Li Yu excitedly reached out his hand and took down the Lightning Eagle. He held it in his hand and looked left and right, unable to put it down. But Claire next to her muttered to herself, "This tone doesn't sound like Chris at all." Claire's face was both joyful and puzzled. Li Yu regained his senses from excitement and approached to take Chris's letter. After a brief glance, he said, "It's very simple. Chris's letter is a secret message, which is actually telling his informed teammates about his situation. For example, here, it seems that he went to Europe to investigate, and here he said he wanted to extend the investigation time. As for this sunshade umbrella, Li Yu smiled mysteriously, "Have you ever heard of Ambra?" Claire was stunned for a moment, about to say something when Li Yu suddenly changed his expression. He held Claire's mouth with his index finger, gesturing for her to remain silent, and then he listened attentively. The dull and heavy footsteps faintly echoed into their ears. Damn it! Claire didn't know what the sound was, but Li Yu was very clear. This iconic heavy footsteps only come from one thing. The Tyrant. Unfortunately, at such a critical moment, Li Yu made a decisive decision. First, he searched for the modified parts that Lao Wei had secretly hidden. Then, he took a micro-punch and painfully handed the Lightning Eagle to Claire, whispering, "A very bad guy has come over, we need to leave as soon as possible and keep quiet." Claire was clearly a bit confused, but seeing Li Yu so serious, he didn't question it. He took the Lightning Eagle and silently followed behind Li Yu. Li Yu is very pleased. Isn't the effect of creating a positive impression coming out? The two of them waited outside the office for a while, confirmed that they had gone to the first floor, and then cautiously walked out the door, along the corridor, towards the director's office. However, after pushing open the door of the library, Li Yu suddenly felt cold all over. Just beside the door leading to the hall in the library, stood a tall figure. A black leather coat, wearing a top hat, pale and wrinkled skin over 2 meters in size, and a cold gaze. Without a doubt, that is Tyrant. End of this chapter. Chapter 4 Achievements. A Close Call. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Achievements. A Close Call. Tyrant. The most successful and representative bow product of the Umbrella Company, and also the pinnacle of combat effectiveness in conventional bows. Now, he is standing in front of Li Yu, less than 10 meters away, and has turned his head towards the two of them. The overwhelming fear and pressure made Li Yu momentarily lose focus. Run quickly. With a loud shout, the sound of gunfire rang out, and Claire, who was closely following Li Yu, fired, while loudly reminding Li Yu. Although Claire's shooting caused almost no damage to the Tyrant, at least it woke up Li Yu. Li Yu regained his senses, took out his submachine gun, and ran to distance himself while attempting to shoot towards the head and chest of the Tyrant. Unfortunately, his shooting skills were not yet perfect, and the submachine gun bullets only brushed past the Tyrant's side, with only a small fraction hitting. This bit of harm was not at all effective, but rather caught the attention of the Tyrant and began to chase him with great strides. Li Yu gave up decisively, stopped shooting, and began to run wildly, climbing up the ladder in one corner of the library. But Claire saw that the Tyrant ignored his attack and chased after Li Yu. He gritted his teeth and took out a grenade launcher, aiming at the Tyrant's back. Eat this. With a muffled sound, the flame bomb suddenly exploded on the Tyrant's back, finally successfully interrupting the Tyrant's movement while climbing the ladder. Then, shrouded in flames, the Tyrant turned his head to look at Claire. Claire trembled subconsciously. At the next moment, with a loud bang, the Tyrant rushed over with flames all over his body. Before its violent movements, the table and chair decorations in the library were no longer able to stop its footsteps like in games, but were easily crushed and scattered on the ground. And the speed of the Tyrant was much faster than what Li Yu had imagined. The assault was too fast and fierce, and Claire only managed to make a forced thrust towards the side before avoiding it. But before she could get up, the Tyrant had already waved his hand to extinguish the flames on his body, came to Claire's side, and reached out to pinch her neck, lifting her from the ground. The power of the Tyrant was extremely terrifying, and under the constraint and pressure of that big hand, Claire could even feel the faint sound of his neck bone. She struggled hard, but was unable to break free from her constraints. Li Yu, located on the second floor of the library, was frightened by the sudden outbreak of terrifying combat power by the Tyrant. He was at a loss for a moment and could only watch as Claire was captured by the Tyrant, his mind filled with various chaotic thoughts. Danger, danger, danger. Terror, it's much more exaggerated than in the game. What should we do? Do you want to run? In a state of panic, the idea of escaping involuntarily emerged in Li Yu's heart. But when Claire's painful cries reached her ears, Li Yu, who was already panicked, suddenly raised his hand and forcefully pinched his thigh. The pain hit, and he finally made up his mind. Li Yu sank his mind, gritted his teeth, picked up his submachine gun, landed on the first floor, and charged towards the Tyrant. The sound of submachine guns echoed in unison, hitting the Tyrant's back and causing him to turn his head. Claire looked at Li Yu as he kept getting closer and struggled, saying, "You. Go. Don't worry about me." Li Yu turned a deaf ear and kept pouring bullets onto the Tyrant's back. Finally, the roar of the submachine gun came to a stop, and the magazine let out a light click, indicating the depletion of ammunition. The Tyrant finally released Claire and let her fall to the ground, then turned his head and walked towards Li Yu. Li Yu watched as the approaching Tyrant steadily retreated, while also retracting his submachine gun and taking out the blade of the warrior. One shot, hit the Tyrant's head. No effect. As a biological weapon, a tyrant lacks self-awareness and only has the idea of executing commands. Therefore, as Li Yu kept shooting at him, he just raised his huge fist. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a clay pot? At this moment, Li Yu suddenly had a classic line from the Star Lord in his mind. He smiled bitterly in his heart and said, "I've seen it before, and then I haven't." The time in his eyes seemed to slow down, and he even suspected that he would see the tyrant's fist slowly flying towards him, and then punch himself in the head. But that didn't happen. At the critical moment, a young male voice suddenly sounded in his ear. "Quickly dodge." At the same time, out of the corner of Li Yu's eye, he saw a strip-shaped object painted blue thrown over and landing at the feet of the tyrant. At this moment, his body moved faster than his brain, immediately covering his ears, closing his eyes tightly, and frantically retreating backwards at the fastest speed. Buzz. Intense white light flashed through, and at the same time, strong sound echoed in his ears. Even Li Yu, who had been prepared for it, was shaken to the core, while the tyrant, who was being taken care of, let out a painful scream, his eyes tightly closed, and his hands waving in the air, seemingly trying to grab something but unable to find direction. The next moment, when Li Yu felt that he couldn't hold on and collapsed, a powerful arm supported him from behind. "Are you okay, sir?" "Sir." A familiar voice came through. Li Yu instinctively looked up and saw the green yet resolute face in a daze and that striking golden split. "It's Lion." At this moment, the world around him returned to normal, his tinnitus subsided, and he regained his sense of everything around him. But the brain is still somewhat chaotic, and the field of vision is also occupied by a large spot of light. Lion supported him with one hand and fired a gun at the tyrant with the other, shouting at Claire on the other side, "Claire! Come over!" Claire, who had fallen behind the tyrant and dodged the flash grenade, rushed over and helped Li Yu together. "Let's go quickly." The two of them carried Li Yu out of the library, and Lion didn't forget to continue shooting. "Where are we going?" "He needs to rest." "I don't know, but stay away from this guy for now." Li Yu's chaotic brain regained some clarity and struggled to say, "Go." "Director's office." "It won't go in." Lion was obviously surprised, but after looking at Claire's expression, he chose to believe Li Yu, supported him, and ran towards the director's office. Li Yu has long considered the issue of a safe house. There are several safe houses in the game, which are areas that neither tyrants nor zombies will enter, such as the first floor darkroom and STARS office. But this world obviously won't follow the game mechanics, so Li Yu didn't think that the darkroom and office could block the tyrant from the beginning. Otherwise, what did he just run for? Just sit in the office and wait. And upon careful consideration, if there really is a room that it should never enter, then there is only one Brian Elon's office. In the library, the tyrant's roar only lasted for a while before gradually subsiding. The three of them had not even reached the west entrance at this time. Claire turned around and happened to see the door of the library suddenly pushed open. The restored tyrant lowered his head and walked out, taking big steps towards the three of them. "It's catching up. Quick, fast, fast." Lion and Claire helped Li Yu accelerate his pace, and Li Yu also exerted all his strength to control his body, reducing their burden. The tyrant is still rapidly approaching. "Claire." Li Yu had to give instructions, "Use a lightning eagle. Hit your head. Be sure to hit it." At the moment of crisis, Claire didn't ask much, turned around and pulled out the lightning eagle. With the help of the red dot sight, he accurately locked the head of the tyrant. Bang! The huge gunfire echoed, attracting the attention of countless monsters. However, under Magnum's strong bombardment, the tyrant only tilted his head back, paused slightly in his footsteps, and then continued to chase after him. Claire gritted her teeth and raised her hand, firing 2 more shots. Bang! Bang! After the third shot, the tyrant finally let out a deep roar, raised his hand to cover his face, and the pursuit stopped temporarily. Claire! Come here quickly. Leon and Liu have arrived at the office door, greeting Claire. Claire immediately ran towards the two, but unfortunately, at this moment, a licker crawled out from somewhere and rushed towards Claire from the side. Fortunately, ordinary college students have excellent skills. At the critical moment, they roll and dodge on the spot, and then turn over and take a shot. The roar of the lightning eagle echoes again. The licker made a big hole in their abdomen and flew backwards, hitting the wall. Claire immediately got up and rushed towards the office. Behind her, the tyrant has recovered from the impact and is chasing after her again. Claire! The tyrant strode forward and reached out his hand to grab Claire. Bang bang! The sound of the samurai's blade gunfire rang out, hitting the tyrant's face. In the next moment, almost by a hair's breadth, the tyrant's big hand swept past the end of Claire's golden ponytail, but ultimately caught nothing. Claire pounced on Liu at the door, and the two of them fell directly into the office. Lion, who had been guarding the door, immediately slammed it shut and locked it. Outside the door, the oppressive footsteps of the tyrant paced back and forth for a few laps, but ultimately did not choose to break open the wooden door that was not much thicker than paper for it, but gradually drifted away. Inside the door, 3 people were all slumped on the ground. Leon gasped and looked at Liu in surprise. How do you know it won't enter the office? Liu forced a smile but did not answer. At this moment, a series of sounds were constantly echoing in his ear. Complete unlocking condition for achievement section. Kill 5 lickers, May 5th, the achievement section has been fully unlocked. You can now view the full achievement list. Ding, congratulations on completing your achievement. A close call. Close call. Facing the tyrant head-on and successfully escaping. Please claim your rewards in the achievement section. If you don't die in a great disaster, there will always be good fortune. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sherry Burkin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Shirley Perkins. Now the 3 of them are still gasping for breath, and Liu took this opportunity to take a look at the newly unlocked achievement section. Close call. Facing the tyrant head-on and successfully escaping. Achievement reward. Achievement points x 300, white framed glasses x 1, Liu. Did something strange sneak in? Don't mess with the system just because I set myself as an Eastern journalist. Item description. Ordinary white framed glasses that can ignore the strong light and noise emitted by flash bullets when worn. Good thing. Liu immediately became really fragrant. With this thing, the next time he encounters a tyrant, he will directly greet it with a flare in his face. He immediately claimed and took out the reward, and his glasses silently appeared in his pocket. Just as he was about to carefully study the completely unlocked achievement section again, he saw Claire already in front of him and asked with concern, "How do you feel?" In fact, Liu felt some light spots flickering in front of him, but his consciousness was already clear, so he waved his hand to indicate that he was okay. Claire was obviously still worried, but she didn't bother anymore and came to the director's desk to start tidying up the equipment. Liu continued to browse the achievement list. The total number of achievements is not very many, only a few dozen or so, most of which are new achievements, such as Close Call and Blast Strike, only 2 of which are the same as the original game, namely, Flying Target Shooting and Zombie Hunting. Note. Liu looked around and found that currently there is only 1 achievement that can be obtained immediately. Ultimate Modification. Complete a weapon modification with a total of 3 accessories. Seeing this achievement, Liu's eyes lit up, and then his gaze turned to Lion beside him. Lion is exchanging intelligence with Claire. However, when it comes to exchanging intelligence, the conversation between the two actually feels similar. Leon. I encountered a monster waving a water pipe in an underground facility. Claire. Wow. A new monster. Leon. I ran into an FBI in the underground garage. Claire. Wow. An FBI. Leon. I saw a journalist in the detention room who was being held captive. He said it was the director who did it and asked me to let him out. Before I could understand, he was pinched to death by the monster just now. Claire. Wow. A note. Wait. Claire turned around and looked at Liu on the sofa. Liu smiled at her and said, I probably know who that is. He's Ben, and we're on the same side. He's also in trouble. Liu pretended to sigh. Anyway, even if I'm hanging up, it's impossible for me to jump out and expose it. Lion was also surprised and said, Wait, are you also a journalist? Before Liu could answer, Claire preemptively explained the process of her acquaintance with Liu, including Liu's investigation into the director. This stunned rookie police officer Leon and immediately stated that I didn't believe it. What evidence do you have? Liu didn't panic either, he just said you can look for it in this office. Lion didn't care about confidentiality anymore. He searched the director's desk for a while and indeed found several suspicious correspondence, which mentioned information about Elon's bribery, virus research and development, and the Umbrella Company. Seeing this, Lion's forehead was bulging with veins and his hands tightly grasped the letter. Claire, who had also read the letter on the side, realized something. Is this the reason why that thing didn't enter this room? After a long time, Lion put down the letter and approached Liu, solemnly saying, What else do you know about this disaster? Please tell me everything. I want to know the truth, I want to help those people. Liu also became serious. He was well aware that Lion in front of him was not the strongest agent in the anti-biological field in the future, but just a novice police officer with ideals, beliefs, and enthusiasm in his heart. Lion can really do anything to prevent disasters and save citizens. Liu appreciates it and greatly admires it. So he replied seriously, No problem, I can tell you everything I know. Liu has always believed that riddle people should get out of Brother. Oh no, Raccoon City. Are you still hiding the key information here when it's already in crisis? Is it possible for these pieces of information to be released? You should tell your companions. Sharing intelligence can solve 80% of the problems in many stories, which is not an exaggeration. So Liu will never be a riddler. The disaster in Raccoon City is a long story. However, as soon as Liu started, he was interrupted by a scream coming from upstairs. Lion suddenly stood up and said, Are there any survivors? Claire looked at Liu and said, It still sounds like a child. Is that the girl you mentioned? It's very likely, Liu said with a serious expression. Surely Burkin. Sure enough, it still appeared. Lion also remembered something. So, when I first came out of the underground facility, I saw a small figure, but it just flashed by. Liu Dao said, It seems to be her. I think we need to help her. After all, Sherry is extremely crucial in the plot of Resident Evil 2, and it's not an exaggeration to say she's a must-have for perfect clearance. Lion and Claire certainly didn't know this, but now that they had just seen the terrifying combat power of the Tyrant, they both nodded without hesitation and said, That's right, we have to go help her. Liu sighed, Truly worthy of you. However, soon after, the event that left Liu speechless occurred. Lion and Claire staged a horror story retention program in front of him. Operation Splitting. The reason is higher efficiency. Liu couldn't understand. You have already witnessed the power of a tyrant, why do you still want to split up and take action? Hey! Isn't it safe for all three of them to act together right now? He naturally expressed opposition, but to no avail. The two people who were just willing to listen to him were particularly stubborn at this moment, saying that saving people is like putting out a fire, and that Liu's words were useless. The two of them had an abnormal attitude, which made Liu vaguely worried. Could it be something like forced plot correction? Shouldn't the world force be immediately activated to forcibly redirect the plot back to the game route? Li Yu is also an old bookworm, and many fan fiction novels he has read have this setting, which makes him hesitate. But no matter what, people still need to be saved. Since Li Yu couldn't resist the two main characters, he could only fully leverage his advantage as a time traveler and hold on to both of them to give a warning. Claire, could you please be responsible for the east side of the police station and take away the electronic components from the third-floor warehouse? Officer Kennedy, please join me in the operation. Let's take a look on the west side and find the way to the third floor of the West End. Also, if you encounter that girl, you can try to communicate with her like this. If you encounter a tyrant, don't hesitate, run immediately. With our current methods, that thing cannot be killed. Li Yu introduced the abilities and response methods of the boss codenamed Tyrant to the two, and also planned a search route. Since Li Yu has already proven the value of his name as the person who knows the Raccoon City Police Department the most on site, Lion and Claire have no objection to letting Li Yu arrange the route. However, to Li Yu's surprise, Claire expressed that she wanted Li Yu to take action with her because she was worried that he had not yet recovered and was too reluctant. Li Yu was taken aback by the sound. What's wrong with this little girl? However, he ultimately refused and chose to go with Lion. After grabbing the walkie-talkie, organizing the equipment, the three of them immediately set off. Save Sherry Parkin. Note: flying target shooting. Shooting a zombie dog or liquor in the air. Trapping zombies. Use throwing weapons to kill 3 enemies at once. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 System. Meeting the requirements of full achievement players. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 System. Meeting the requirements of full achievement players. The lobby on the first floor. Lion and Li Yu stood in front of Marvin's broken body, both falling into silence. Staying here is very dangerous, but Li Yu did not urge Lion. Sheriff Marvin. Lion whispered his name. He saved my life when I just arrived at the police station and told me how to escape. I promised him I would bring reinforcements back. But now. Li Yu also sighed. Removing the jokes, Sheriff Marvin is indeed an excellent sheriff, and the outcome of such a person is even more lamentable. Fortunately, Lion was also determined and did not feel depressed for long. He said, "Let's go, we still have something to do." Li Yu saw that Lion did not force himself, so he nodded and the two of them came to the west corridor together. This corridor was originally the most active area for liquors, but Li Yu had already cleared this area with Claire in order to unlock the achievement section, so it was actually very safe. It's just that there's no lighting, and outside the window it's pouring rain, creating a terrifying atmosphere that's almost filling up. Li Yu directly said that I am not at all cowardly here, and then walked behind Lion with a straight face. Therefore, Lion was in front and Li Yu was behind. The two of them groped their way forward and soon arrived at the dark room on the west side of the first floor, taking a short rest. Of course, Li Yu did not let go of the important supplies on the road, basically scraping away all kinds of bullets, and even took away a grenade and a flash grenade. His location for retrieving supplies is also very tricky, in blind corners of corridors, under chairs, and even in safes. The smooth and flowing operation stunned Lion, thinking that Li Yu was just his role model. Ah no, it was like a locust passing through, it was so terrifying. At this moment, young Lion, who had not yet obtained the title of Sanguang, deeply imprinted the figure of another Li Sanguang in his heart. Li Yu didn't even know that he had stimulated the young Lion's soul of 3 lights. He was just preparing to meet the tyrant by hoarding supplies. However, Lion is not a blindly worshipped person, he also noticed something wrong from Li Yu's actions. Why is this person not only familiar with the solving codes of various strange mechanisms in the police station, but also in control of the position of half a box of gunpowder and a film? Is this what a journalist should know? Are you here to investigate the director or were you sent to investigate before the Japanese sweep? Lion's professional training raised doubts about this, but he only buried them in his heart. Of course, if Li Yu knew his thoughts, he would only answer. If you run the police station process 10 or 20 times, you can also be like me. It's all the hard work we put in to fight S+ back then. What Lion didn't know was that while Li Yu was sweeping and scraping, he was still focusing on his new achievements. Ultimate modification. Complete a weapon modification with a total of 3 accessories. Achievement reward. Achievement points x 200, muzzle brake x 1, what? How was this achievement accomplished? This needs to mention our young San Guang. Why did Li Yu refuse Claire's request to act with him and insist on joining Lion? It's definitely not because he has ideas about Lion. He's a steel-straight man, how could he have ideas about Lion? Actually, Li Yu is greedy for Lion. The Matilda in his hand. When the Tyrant was chasing, Li Yu noticed that Lion's Matilda was already in a dual accessory state, and Li Yu happened to know the location of the last accessory. On their inevitable path. So Li Yu opened the safe on the way and took the accessories, then borrowed Matilda from Lion to install them, and the achievement was immediately announced to be completed. Easy and enjoyable, it would be great if the system's achievements were all so easy to handle. Item description. A universal muzzle brake for pistol weapons, which can be used for all types of pistols and cannot be removed separately. It can suppress the upward movement of the muzzle, improve firing speed and accuracy. Seeing this, Li Yu squinted his eyes and said, all types of handguns. What about Magnum? Li Yu immediately made up his mind. He must try pretending to be Magnum when he comes back. As for now, of course, it's time to equip the Blade of the Warrior to enhance its real-time combat power. Upon careful consideration, do the rewards given by the system seem quite practical? Although my first impression of this system on myself was extremely poor, in the future, everything it provided was really useful, especially for him as a firearm novice. What firearm skill books, modification accessories, are all props to save his shooting skills. But he still hates this system. Not to mention anything else, even though I am a player who has achieved full success in Dual Line S+, when I enter the game world, this system does not give me the rewards I deserve. It's shameless. That's right, he deserves a series of powerful reward weapons such as unlimited rocket launchers. If I could get unlimited rocket launchers, what licks, what tyrants, they would all be garbage. Spit out what I should have, dog system. Well, he knows he's thinking about peaches. As long as he's not stupid, the system can never give him an unlimited rocket launcher now. Ding, detected that you have achieved all the achievements in the game Resident Evil 2 Remake, and will make detailed adjustments without affecting the main world line. Adjusting, Li Yu is confused. Is it so considerate? Just finished speaking, did you cooperate with me to change the plot? But Li Yu didn't understand. What does adjustment mean? Ding, the plot has been adjusted, we have prepared a special reward for you, which you can claim by completing the reward task. Do you want to receive reward tasks? Are there any reward tasks? Is that so good? Li Yu didn't think much for a moment and chose to accept it. Received special mission. Chasing Tyrant 2. Task description. One of the 2 tyrants wandering within the scope of Raccoon City Police Station suddenly felt an inexplicable threat. The creature's instinct led it to decide to identify the source of this threat and eliminate it, even if it violated the creator's orders. Task description. One of the 2 tyrants active at the police station will continue to pursue you and will not give up due to any interference. Every 10 minutes, you and it will obtain each other's location information. In this task, this tyrant will lose the ability to mutate into a super tyrant, and the rest of the action modes will be the same as ordinary tyrants. Task requirement. Survive under the pursuit of this tyrant. Task reward. Unknown, Li Yu. What are you in the system? Is this a reward task? This is the reward you gave me for being a fully accomplished player. You are definitely seeking revenge. It's revenge, right? And there were actually 2 tyrants in the TM police station. Where did this extra one come from? Liu was almost choked to death by the system, and his stomach was full of frustration, not knowing how to vomit. Even Lion noticed his expression as if he had eaten his large intestine and nervously asked, "What's going on? Is something wrong?" Liu was about to answer when he automatically popped out of the system's virtual panel before meeting. The information section is partially unlocked. You can confirm the map now. You can confirm the task now. The system immediately redirected again, and the 3-dimensional map of the Raccoon City police station appeared in front of Liu. In the map, the green dots representing himself and the blue dots representing Lion are located in the darkroom on the first floor, while the blood-red dots representing the mission target Tyrant, it's in the west office. Liu didn't care about explaining, he grabbed Lion and ran away. "Let's go." After a pause, he added, "Get ready for the flare." Lion. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Getting rid of pursuit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Getting rid of pursuit. Liu and Lion rushed up the stairs, while Liu's brain spun rapidly, recalling the current distribution of monsters at the police station. Take the second floor. The corridor on the second floor has been cleared by Claire and me, it should be safe now. If it's on the third floor, there should be more than one liquor activity on the third floor at this time. So, we should definitely go to the second floor. No. Liu realized his negligence. The speed of the Tyrant in this world is too fast, and it may not be much worse than the tracker of Resident Evil 3. In the open corridor, the 2 of them may not necessarily run faster than the Tyrant. Instead of taking the usual route now, go to the third floor. Go to the third floor. Liu said, there are liquors on the third floor. Lion had already identified what was chasing them through the heavy footsteps behind him. Upon hearing these words, he was momentarily stunned, but then understood that Liu wanted the Tyrant and the liquor to kill each other and create an opportunity for them to escape. But will it go so smoothly? Lion had to worry, but still followed Liu to the third floor. At this point, the Tyrant had already pursued the second floor platform. Unlike the previous trench coat, top hat, and skin version of the Tyrant, this Tyrant is wearing a more common military uniform-shaped restraining suit and does not wear a hat, just the original image. But this does not affect its sense of oppression. Although it doesn't come with a built-in BGM in the game, its heavy footsteps are also full of courage. The 2 of them walked down the third-floor corridor to the west storage room door. Liu made a gesture, so Lion immediately stopped and pushed open the door with the lightest movement. As soon as I opened the door, I saw a crimson liquor lying in front of me, with its back facing them, nibbling on a certain humanoid. Looking up again, there was another liquor with a long tongue sticking out, slowly crawling on the ceiling. Although prepared early, Liu's heart still missed a beat. There's no way, the atmosphere in this police station is already terrifying. Even before crossing the border, Liu, who had played countless times, would occasionally be scared by some sudden zombies thrown out, let alone now being there. But when it comes to fear, never panic. So Liu and Lion exchanged eye contact and nodded to each other. After a moment, with a loud bang, the door to the storage room was forcefully pushed open, and the Tyrant's massive body squeezed in. He swept left and right without seeing the target, and couldn't help but pause. And such a huge noise naturally attracted the attention of 2 liquors, who began to quickly approach it. But when the liquor approached the Tyrant about 2 meters in front of him, he stopped again. Faced with the noisy Tyrant, the 2 licks let out a deep roar, but it seemed as if they were afraid and dared not take another step closer. At this moment, Liu is holding his breath and concentrating to hide behind the bookshelf, suppressing his desire to run and observe the Tyrant and the liquor. In fact, this is also an attempt under helplessness. In the game, lickers and tyrants will not attack each other, even if they appear together, they will only surround the protagonist, and there is no interaction between them. In fact, this is not very reasonable. Why does a tyrant push away ordinary zombies, and lick, who is a predator who listens to sound and location, have no reaction to the tyrant? Players also have different opinions on this point. However, many players have a small misconception about lickers, which is that they believe that licking is also one of the biological weapons manufactured by Umbrella Company. This kind of cognition cannot be mistaken, but it is not rigorous. In fact, the early lickers were not specially developed by Umbrella Company, but were naturally born viral mutants. Later, it was captured by the Umbrella Company for research and renovation. Therefore, at present, the lickers in the police station should only be wild monsters, not biological weapons, and there is no situation where some players believe that they are all biological weapons and will not attack each other. In contrast, Liu's more accepted view is that infected individuals with the T-virus can perceive each other and know that they are not suitable prey. Moreover, tyrants have a strong deterrent power, and lickers also have a certain level of wisdom, so they naturally won't provoke them without any worries. But since it's nothing to provoke, does it mean that as long as conditions permit, lickers can also be lured to attack the tyrant? This is Liu's plan. At this moment, the tyrant only paused for a moment, ignoring the two lickers in front of him and continuing to move forward. His massive body squeezed directly through the middle of the lickers. Even so, the two lickers did not choose to attack, but slowly retreated in the opposite direction of the tyrant. But just as a biochemical cricket was about to die in its womb, a rolling sound of objects suddenly sounded in the storage room. For a moment, both the tyrant and Lick looked at the object that made the sound. That is a dark green hand grenade. Bang! The grenade exploded at the feet of the tyrant, causing considerable damage and pain, while also infuriating the affected lickers. The two lickers, stimulated by loud noises and injuries, showed their ferocity and rushed towards the tyrant. The lickers' abilities in any aspect are obviously far inferior to those of a tyrant, but only speed can surpass them. Therefore, when the tyrant turned around, the two lickers had already pounced on it, front and back. Their sharp claws tore at the skin on the tyrant's face, while their bloodthirsty jaws mercilessly gnawed on the tyrant's restraining suit. And the tyrant was constantly torn and bitten by two lickers hanging on his body, his eyes turning black and his footsteps stumbling. It reached out to grab and lick the diners, but it struggled to escape for a moment. Liu certainly wouldn't let go of the opportunity he had finally created, so he immediately crawled out of the nearby door and arrived at the second floor of the library. Lion is ready here, two people in front and one behind, running up and taking off, jumping over the gap on the second floor of the library. Yes, there's no need for any jacks to move the bookshelf. This gap is just a little wide, isn't it enough to jump over directly? Liu is not an immortal, he has no knees. This is called a bookshelf skip. Lion turned around and glanced at the second floor door, asking, will that tyrant be killed? Liu pursed his lips and said, I also hope it can be solved so easily, but it won't work. Hurry up and let's run. Just as they were talking, the door behind them was once again smashed open, and the tyrant stumbled out with a lick hanging from his body. Seemingly losing patience, the tyrant raised his hand and grabbed a licker hanging from his head, using both hands to forcefully tear off its entire right paw. Lion, who happened to turn around, saw this scene and felt a chill in his heart. He no longer wasted time and followed Liu, leaving behind the tyrant's roar. Jia. Pushing open the corridor door connecting the east and west police stations on the third floor of the lobby, Liu walked and said. Claire should have found the electronic components in the storage room, and you already have enough. We don't need to go to the clock tower anymore, just go over here and return to the director's office. Lion nodded naturally. After decisively eliminating the two zombies wandering on the third floor and accelerating their system unlocking progress, the two of them opened the door lock of the storage room on the east side of the third floor. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Claire lying on the ground. Liu, Amp, Leon. What happened here? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Law of the Lord's Survival. Do not change the plot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Law of the Lord's Survival. Do not change the plot. Lion quickly went up and helped Claire up, while Liu guarded with guns and observed the situation inside the storage room. Is she okay? Liu asked after confirming that all the zombies in the room had been disposed of. I should be fine, I just passed out without any signs of being bitten, Lion replied. Help her back to the director's office first. Liu looked at the familiar pendant he found at the door in his hand, his face lost in thought. After returning to the office, Claire quickly woke up and the first thing she said was, "Where's Shirley?" Liu's gaze flickered and he said, "Have you found her?" Subsequently, the two learned about the situation from Claire. Originally, Claire picked up electronic components from the storage room on the third floor and ran into Shirley, who was hiding. So Claire followed Liu's instructions and gained trust by using the names of Shirley and her mother, and planned to leave with Shirley first. But at this moment, a gray-haired uniformed fat pig appeared from somewhere and, taking advantage of Claire's unpreparedness, knocked her unconscious and forcibly took Shirley away. If she regains consciousness, she will be in the office. Liu remained silent. Lion, after asking Claire a few more questions, said with an unpleasant expression that the fat pig she was referring to was the police chief, Brian Elrance. Between the two gazes, there was anger on both faces, especially Lion, who was extremely resentful. The police chief of Raccoon City is actually such a person. When I catch him, I will definitely make him look good. The two of them reached a consensus and then looked at Liu together. Liu, who had been silent and contemplating things, suddenly felt two scorching gazes falling on him. He looked up in shock and saw that both Lion and Claire, the main characters, were staring at him with bright eyes. What's going on? What are you two looking at? But he immediately reacted and understood the situation. Simply put, the two protagonists have already been understood by him. They have already gained sufficient trust in him. In theory, this is certainly a good thing, but Liu is also a bit worried. Liu was silent just now, not because of anything else, but because he was thinking about how much the plot has changed from before. The most crucial question is, if his arrival caused a series of changes, why did Claire still encounter Sherry and fully replicate the plot of Director Alone's? Can this be a manifestation of the plot's coercive power? If so, if I change the plot recklessly, will I be severely punished? Due to this concern, Liu, who has gained the trust of Lion and Claire at this moment, has both joy and worry. However, no matter what, the plot definitely needs to be pushed, and one's main quest is still hanging there. So Liu pondered and spoke. Shirley was taken by Brian. I think I probably know where they went. Leon and Claire's eyes immediately lit up. I have to go save her. Claire answered without hesitation. Lion also said, I'm with you. Claire then looked at Liu and said, Are you coming with us? Liu fell into contemplation. Does this plot make me change a bit too much? What should we do? Do you want to salvage it? Although, even if we want to salvage the current atmosphere, it's too strange to say to Lion, I'll just go with Claire. After thinking for 2 seconds, Liu made a decision. Mind him. Go, you can go either way. Isn't it just a slight deviation in the plot, a minor issue? If there is really a compelling plot, then such a small deviation will definitely be corrected soon. As long as he is not held responsible when the time comes. So he looked at the two and said, Of course, let's go save Sherry together. Leon and Claire immediately smiled. The two immediately took action according to Liu's arrangement. Claire, could you please bring the electronic components and go to the specimen room to retrieve the key card? Officer Kennedy. Just call me Lion. Okay, then Leon, Elrance has a secret passage in the office that leads directly to the underground parking lot. Could you please find the start switch? I'll sort out all our weapons and ammunition. The two tyrants in the police station are likely to come after us soon, so we must be prepared for the worst. After listening to Li Yu's words, the two of them acted independently without any objection. Seeing their cooperation, Li Yu also smiled slightly and began to carefully organize his equipment. Including himself, the weapons and ammunition currently held by the three individuals are as follows. Weapons. Matilda pistol, SLS-60 revolver, Samurai Blade Albert pistol, W.870 shotgun, MQ-11 submachine gun, GM-79 grenade launcher, Lightning Eagle Magnum. Ammunition. 9mm pistol bullet X-103, shotgun bullet X-14, submachine gun bullet X-29, sulfuric acid bullet X-2, flame bullet X-4, magnum bullet X-3, grenade X-2, flash bullet X-2. It's barely enough. However, Li Yu is also aware that distributing these weapons to 3 people to deal with 2 tyrants is still not enough, unless the 3 can cooperate seamlessly and exert maximum combat power. And it is obvious that he is the one who is dragging his feet. So the current situation is, without me, they are probably stronger. Li Yu is very self-aware. If possible, he also wants to step back and hand over the battle to professionals. But it's not possible. After all, the second tyrant is really aimed at him. If the 3 of them don't leave together, Li Yu will definitely not be able to leave the police station. In that case, this allocation should be more reasonable. Li Yu divided the weapons and ammunition into 3 piles on the table. Matilda, W.870, Lightning Eagle, and a flare for Lion. SLS-60, grenade launcher and 2 hand grenades, for Claire. The blade of the warrior, submachine gun, and another flash are reserved for oneself. Among the 3, only Matilda from Lion was fully matched, and Li Yu left most of the pistol bullets for him to make up for the lack of firepower. After all, the Lightning Eagle only has 3 bullets left, not enough for half a magazine of course. Personally speaking, he really wants to win the Lightning Eagle. However, this shit system, like the Resident Evil series, categorizes Magnum pistols separately. Its usage is not included in the previous skill book. So he doesn't know how to use it. Or more precisely, he doesn't use it well. After all, Magnum, a powerful handgun, still requires specialized practice to unleash its performance. So Li Yu could only endure the pain and choose the submachine gun. Besides, Li Yu himself knows that he is not an output at all. It's better to say that his positioning should be a target. When Li Yu's plan is almost done, Claire also retrieves the key card. After careful searching, Lion finally found the secret switch next to a photo frame on the wall and successfully activated it. All the preparations are ready, now let me emphasize a few key points at the end. In front of Li Yu, Lion and Claire listened attentively to his speech, looking more serious than the 3 good students in class. Tyrants are extremely powerful biological weapons, and with our current firepower, there is no possibility of killing them. Therefore, our goal is to delay their activities as much as possible and buy time to escape from the police station. According to my intelligence, the Tyrant can probably withstand 2.3 hand grenades or 3.4 grenades. When the damage reaches its limit, they will pause for about 30 seconds, while the flare can cause the Tyrant to fall into a chaotic state for about 10 seconds. This is the time for us to get out of trouble. As soon as we left the garage, we immediately crossed the street and rushed to the orphanage through the passage next to the weapons store to save Sherry. Li Yu looked at the 2 of them and said, "Do you have any questions or would you like to add anything else?" Leon and Claire exchanged a glance and shook their heads together. "Okay, let's go." The 3 of them each grabbed their weapons and equipment and entered the secret passage opened behind their desks. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. King Ada. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Ada King. Woo-ah! The tyrant in a windbreaker let out a roar, and his massive body knelt weakly to the ground, temporarily ceasing movement. Claire! There are lickers coming again. Li Yu shouted. Claire immediately turned around, and the grenade launcher made a muffled sound. The explosion of the flame bomb accurately enveloped the two lickers running out from the direction of the shooting range. Claire kept moving, switched to sulfuric acid bullets, and raised her hand to shoot again. The lickers collapsed with a roar, while Li Yu and Lion on the other side worked together to finally clean up the ordinary zombies in the garage, and the underground garage quieted down. Claire, open the door. Watching the zombies lying on the ground in the garage, Li Yu couldn't help but feel a little scared. 10 minutes ago, the three of them came out of the passage and saw the first trench-coat tyrant standing silently in the center of the garage, surrounded by a group of ordinary zombies, and even lickers wandering in the outermost circle. The windbreaker tyrant saw Li Yu and his entourage and immediately strode closer, reaching out to grab Li Yu. Li Yu didn't even have time to curse, and he made a quick decision by throwing a flash in front of him with the power of mutual destruction, blinding all enemies, including the tyrant. Lion and Claire behind were both startled. Throwing a flash at such a close distance, what would he do on his own? Then they saw Li Yu vividly retreat into the passage, unaffected at all, and both of them were foolish. It was Li Yu who called them back. The three of them immediately advanced together, taking turns using various weapons to tackle this wave of enemies in a thrilling manner. But Li Yusi was completely at ease. Because a few minutes ago, the system's location was activated again, and he and the second tyrant learned each other's location. However, a few minutes passed and the other party did not make it. Where did it go? Li Yu's head swelled for a moment, ignoring even the system prompt sound ringing in his ear. Condition for fully unlocking the status section. Kill 20 ordinary zombies, 14/20, Lion, get ready for the flash. With a series of creaking sounds, the rolling shutter door of the underground garage gradually rose up, and Claire and Lion couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Li Yu looked at the watch he had picked up from the director's office and said, "We have more than 10 seconds left. Let's go quickly." Without waiting for the roller shutter door to fully rise, he bent down and crawled out. After leaving the police station, even Li Yu relaxed a bit. Then with a loud bang, the wall on the right suddenly broke open, and a big hand poked out from the flying debris and smoke, grabbing Li Yu. "I'll strangle it." Li Yu quickly dodged, barely able to dodge this catch, but was hit by a large piece of flying debris and fell hard to the ground. Li Yu. Claire was surprised and quickly crawled out, raising his small left wheel to shoot at the tyrant repeatedly. There is no way, although the ammunition of the grenade launcher has not been exhausted, if fired at this distance, the tyrant will not fall to the ground and Li Yu will definitely not survive. Therefore, Claire can only use a small pistol to scrape and scrape, hoping to distract the tyrant. But this tyrant has identified with Li Yu and completely disdains Claire's small pistol. He immediately lifts his leg and is about to step on it. Bang! The roar of the lightning eagle rang out, and the powerful bullet accurately hit the tyrant's head, causing it to tilt slightly. Li Yu also seized the opportunity to avoid its step and immediately shouted, "Run quickly! The first tyrant is about to recover." Lion turned around and saw that the windbreaker tyrant had already stood up unsteadily, about to regain his mobility. He gritted his teeth and the last one crawled out of the rolling shutter door, shooting at the second tyrant outside with Claire. Grenades burst, lightning hawks roared, shotgun sprayed, and under the strong firepower, the second tyrant was unable to move forward for a while. The three of them immediately met up, watching the roaring second tyrant and the windbreaker tyrant who had just walked out of the garage. Li Yu grabbed Lion's flare. "Why are you shouting so loudly? Speak with a flash and take action." In the strong light and loud noise, the two tyrants covered their eyes one after another, stopped their steps, and the three seized the opportunity to turn around and run. But after running from the slope outside the garage to the street, the sight they saw made the three of them shiver all over. There are no swarms of zombies, nor are there lickers wandering around. There are at least 4 or 5 zombie dogs forming a circle, nibbling on the food on the ground. Liu swallowed his saliva and said, "Do we still have a flash? Or a grenade?" Lion said in a bitter voice, "It's gone, we've run out of bullets." The lightning eagle also runs out of bullets. Claire. The grenades are also gone. Liu took a deep breath and said, "Then run. Run over." Behind them, the 2 tyrants have recovered from the shock. In front of them, a zombie dog eating noticed them and was turning its head to bark at the 3 people. Run. 3 people, along with zombie dogs and 2 tyrants, rushed out at the same time, and this scene was like the end of a tragic hero's journey. At this moment, a clear female voice came. "Everyone, squat down." Subsequently, a shell-carrying gunpowder trail flew from afar and exploded in the center of the group of zombie dogs. Boom! The burst of air made the 3 of them unable to open their eyes, and the person in the dark did not stop. Only a moment later, another rocket hit the 2 tyrants. The violent explosion echoed again, and the power of the rocket was incomparable to that of a small hand grenade. It directly blew the 2 tyrants back and forth, causing them to collapse without even roaring in time. Who? Claire was extremely shocked, but Liu and Lion knew who the newcomer was when they heard that voice. Ada Wong. However, Lion's expression was joyful, while Liu breathed a sigh of relief before feeling excruciating pain. That's 2 rockets. If it were in his hand, it would definitely be used to send the tyrant away. This despicable woman actually used it to bomb a few dogs. Even to save their lives, Liu felt heartbroken and couldn't breathe. However, Ada did not appear and could only hear the sound of an engine not far away. 2 headlights immediately lit up, and a transport vehicle labeled SWAT drove out of the darkness and collided with 2 tyrants. The tyrant, who had already ceased his activities, was naturally unable to resist and was directly pushed back into the underground garage. Ada parked the car horizontally, blocked half of the exit, and finally got off the car, looking at Liu and the 3 of them. "Don't be stunned, drive another car over and block the door." Liu and Claire looked at each other, while Lion chose to follow suit without even thinking and started another transport vehicle on the street, blocking the garage in the same way as Ada. Afterwards, the 2 of them came to Liu and Claire while saying things like, "I'm tired of saving your life." Liu, Claire. Leon's expression was filled with joy that he had not even noticed. "Let me introduce you, this is Ada Wong," Liu said coldly, causing both of them to be stunned. "Hey, do you know each other?" Leon was a bit confused, and Ada was also surprised. Liu looked at her following behind Lion. A young Eastern woman with a light windbreaker and short hair in sunglasses. Ada Wong, an elite mercenary with a mysterious identity in skilled skills, is just her pseudonym. And her current identity? FBI agents, right? Liu emphasized the words FBI and then looked at Ada, whose face had suddenly changed, with a meaningful smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Attempts to Change Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Attempts to Change Fate. A moment later, the 4 of them took shelter in front of the Kendo firearms shop across the street. After temporarily escaping the threat of the tyrant, the few finally had some breathing space. As for why can we be certain of getting rid of it? Of course, there is system authentication. Ding, detected that the tyrant has been severely damaged and has entered hibernation. You have completed a special mission. The first phase of the pursuit of Tyrant 2. The tyrant and you will pause location sharing. Please claim the reward for completing the first stage task. Liu is not in a hurry to claim it. Currently, the focus is still on how to deceive Aunt Wong. After all, Aunt Wong. Ada Wong's plan is mostly to kidnap Lion, which Liu cannot agree to. Taking advantage of Ada's efforts to pry open the door of the gun shop, Leon approached Liu and whispered, "Do you know Ada?" Liu was about to answer when he noticed that Ada's eyes were vaguely looking over. So he smiled and said, "I think I know each other." "It's a long story." Claire rose beside him. "How do you feel that you know everyone about Liu? Are you all so talented Oriental journalists?" Ada interrupted at this moment, "The door is open, let's all come in." After entering the store, Liu and Ada exchanged a glance, so he asked Leon and Claire to search the store for some supplies, while he and Ada came to the side, intending to talk. But Leon looked at them both with a guarded face and let it go. "Claire, why are you joining in the fun? How do you feel like you're more guarded than Lion?" Liu complained roast. Fortunately, the two of them didn't disturb them in the end, leaving a private space for Liu Ada. And Ada opened her mouth and asked, "What do you know?" Liu smiled slightly and said, "Guess what?" Ada frowned and said, "I don't have time to play riddles with you. Listen, no matter what you know, it's best not to talk nonsense. I know you're not a journalist at all." Liu sneered, "Don't worry, as long as you don't go too far, I won't interfere. As for the threat. If Lion knew you were a mercenary who came to steal virus samples, would you guess he believed me or you?" Ada. However, although Liu looked calm, in reality, he really had no idea who Lion would trust at that moment. There was a commotion inside the gun shop, followed by a man suppressing his anger in a low voice. "Don't move." Liu knew that the plot of the gun shop owner had been triggered, so he glanced at Ada and walked towards the shop. Inside the gun shop, Claire was raising her hands to show that she had no ill intentions. Beside her, a middle-aged man aimed a shotgun at her and looked at Lion, repeating, "Don't move, go back and forth from where you're going." Lion aimed his gun at the man and tried to communicate with him, "We have no ill intentions." The man angrily said, "It's strange to believe you." Ada walked out at this moment and also raised his gun at the boss, saying, "Put down the gun." The man, who was in an absolutely disadvantageous position, did not back down and shouted, "Do you want to kill me? Come on. Give it a try." Lion explained again, but the man couldn't listen. At this moment, Claire noticed a little girl walking out of the room behind the man. But she walked slowly and remained silent, as if her condition was not right. "Sir, I think your daughter needs help." Who wanted to hear this, but the man was furious and said, "You don't need to tell me how to take care of my daughter." Liu did not appear, he was observing in the dark. The scene in front of him was a storyline animation that he had already watched in the game, and there was no difference except for an additional Claire. And he was well aware that gun shop owner Robert Kendo wouldn't really take action. Sure enough, things are developing as Liu knows. Lion advised Ada to put down the gun, while the boss Kendo held his daughter and desperately shouted to the three of them. Why did this happen, why? Looking at his daughter, who had already begun to turn into a zombie in his arms, everyone fell silent. Claire even covered her mouth, with tears in her eyes. Liu remained silent in the darkness. When Kendo hugged his daughter and returned to the door of the room behind him, Liu knew that the scene in the game would happen again. He closed his eyes and remembered what Lion had said to Ada in the game plot. "It's one thing you don't tell me the truth, but why keep it from him? I became a police officer just to help people like them." Finally, Liu took a deep breath and made a decision in his heart. Damn his plot power. Wait. He walked out of the darkness. Robert Kendo, right. Liu looked at the man with sorrowful eyes and said, "I know there's a way maybe I can save your daughter." "What are you saying?" ×3 Ada looked at Lion, then at him, and let out a silent sigh. After a moment. "So, in summary, if you find Yanni, you may get a vaccine against the T-virus and save your daughter." Since he had decided to change the fate of these people, Liu naturally did not hide anything and told everyone the whole story of the biochemical crisis in Raccoon City. The initial origin was the virus developed by the Umbrella Company. Then, first came the Yangguan incident in the Aker Mountains, where the virus began to leak, which is the plot of the previous generation of the biochemical crisis. Later, William and his wife clashed with Ambra. William was mistakenly killed by a special unit sent by Ambra. Before his death, he injected himself with the G virus and successfully mutated, killing Ambra's troops. This also led to the expansion of the virus infection. Finally, Raccoon City has become the current hell. An Ambra company actually felt that this was an opportunity, so they began to launch various bows into the city, called testing. After spending some time, Liu explained all the reasons and consequences clearly, and even Ada was amazed by the level of detail. How could you know so clearly? Liu just smiled at this, and Lion and Claire had become accustomed to Liu's omniscience and had no doubt that what he said was false. Lion angrily slammed the table and said, "These bastards. What do you think of human life?" Claire also said, "They will definitely pay the price." After murmuring Umbrella several times, the boss Kendo's veins bulged and he was about to rush out with his shotgun to settle accounts with them. The lions finally managed to hold him down. "Don't be impulsive. Saving Emma is the most important thing now." Kendo's daughter's name calmed him down. He looked at Liu and said, "So, finding this Yanni can save my daughter." Liu said, "I can't guarantee it, but the possibility is very high. There is no mention in the game of whether there is a cure for the T-virus in Nest, but Liu knows that there are also experiments related to the T-virus there, so even if there is no ready-made vaccine, Yanni mostly knows how to make it. This is the fastest way to obtain a vaccine. There are other ways, but Emma probably won't be able to hold on until then." Kendo just thought for a moment before saying, "Okay. I believe you. I'm with you." The gun shop owner, Robert Kendo, is not an ordinary businessman, but a tycoon in the firearms industry. Don't say anything else, just say ST. The exclusive gun of the ARS unit, the blade of the samurai, and the semi-automatic grenade launcher used by the biotech Triwizard to kill all directions are all his works. His joining did not enhance the combat power of Liu and his team the most, but rather the presence of an all-around firearm master. Of course, there are also those who are not very satisfied with this. Ada looked at the cheerful crowd, frowning slightly. Unfortunately, Liu looked at her again and said, "FBI lady, do you want to come together?" Ada gritted her teeth to herself. How could she not hear what Liu was emphasizing? And Liu came up to her and whispered, "I know you only want the G virus, but think about it. Sherry is William and Yanni's daughter. What does it mean to find her? I don't need to say it, right? Or do you want Lion to know your true identity?" Ada's eyelids twitched and he said, "You." Liu no longer cared about her because Kendo walked over and said, "What do we need?" Liu smiled and said, "Guns, many guns." The boss chuckled and said, "Let's go and take you to meet the little babies who know me." End of this chapter.